You know, it's impressive to see how long Mario Kart 8 has lasted for, not only being the most popular online game on the Wii U when it was around, but also good enough to get ported to the Switch with improvements made to it.
Why won't you die?
And out of freaking nowhere, when there was no single piece of content being added for it for years, Nintendo was just coming out here like, hey, here's a new game's worth of tracks for you.
I'm telling you, I just heard it inside.
So it was announced we were getting over 48 new tracks for the game, from previous consoles and apparently tour tracks, which a lot of people were actually kind of interested in and deciding if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I wasn't gonna judge, especially with the fact that we were getting 48 tracks and they were just $25. That's way better of a deal than I have seen for a lot of other AAA games. But with that, the first batch of tracks have come out, and I thought it'd be fun to go over them and rank them from worst to best. Though, to get it out of the way real quick, I don't hate any of these tracks, and I actually quite enjoy them all. But they do range from being, to...
Look at it! It's like it's made of light!
But without further ado, let's get right into this. Shroom Ridge gets the bottom spot for me, not because of it being a bad track, but because of the fact that it's basically just a watered down and lamer version of Toad's Turnpike. And what do I mean by that? Well, in Toad's Turnpike, it is filled with cars everywhere. You either can go on the walls, you can go try to dodge traffic, and there's a ton of cars that if you glide onto them, you can do a ton of cool stunts. There was a lot going for the track and it felt like a congested freeway. Here though, the problem is the track just is empty with practically no vehicles on it. And at points, there aren't any. That can be said for the original as well, but at the very least there was oncoming traffic as well, which made turns way more dangerous. But here, all traffic's going forward, so there's not really that much to worry about. And with that kind of change, it just keeps the track from feeling truly great. But at the same time, it's only the second track on the Lucky Bell Cup, so I can't be too harsh against it. And even then, I think it's a decent beginner's course for some people to learn how to do certain things and, you know, dodge oncoming traffic. So it's okay at the very least, but not amazing, especially with the fact that we've already had a crap ton of other tracks before this. Now, I have a massive amount of nostalgia for Toad's Circuit. I mean, Mario Kart 7 was only my second game that I ever played in the franchise at that point, and at that time, I poured hours into the game, to a concerning amount to say the least. As a track, Toad's Circuit is pretty simple. It's as simple as it can get, actually. It's basically just a figure 8 with some optional jumps and an occasional cut through. Again, like I said with Toad Ridge though, why is this added into the course DLC? It feels a little odd in my opinion, especially with it not being as tricky as certain tracks. Like, we had all of Mario Kart 8's tracks and we're getting double that here, and this was one of the tracks they chose to add in. There's not really anything hard or difficult or fun about it. It's not very memorable. And I mean, it's almost impossible for you to fall off the track when gliding. And the only threats are everyone else. This ain't no Bowser's Castle. But I'm keeping it down here because of that, and because it's not a super memorable track. I may have nostalgia for it, but that doesn't make it any less objectively meh. Though it is at least decent at the end of the day. Alright, so for some reason, a lot of people pointed to Sky Garden as the main culprit to Nintendo being lazy with porting these tracks over from Tour, with this track being less complicated than it was when it originally came out. And as much as I want to agree with that, and I do, the original track was literally just flat with a few jumps akin to the original Super Mario Kart. So personally, I think the transition to a 3D environment actually works kind of well here. It's not super difficult, but it allows you to fall off. I mean, the jump at the beginning is needlessly difficult, but yeah, the track layout isn't very difficult. I had some fun moments here and there, like the gliding part towards the end, actually getting that little turn beforehand. There's some fun little moments here, but again, it's not insanely difficult. And even then, if they did try to adapt what that original track layout was from the flat terrain into an actual 3D environment, it would have been much better than what we have here, but what we do have on offer is okay. But at the end of the day, this just feels kind of like a Cloud Top Cruise watered down version. There's nothing here that truly feels special and unique. The aesthetic matches that, but just doesn't look as good, and it isn't as tricky or fun. Okay, I'm not kidding, but while writing the script I accidentally called Tokyo Haze Tokyo Drift, and only when editing did I realize I called it that. So, that was fun.
I don't have friends, I got family.
Anyways, Tokyo Haze was a pretty fun map for me. I enjoyed the city aesthetic, which we don't get a lot to see in base MK8, and with it being Tokyo, makes it have a fun style compared to somewhere like New York City. And although I think the entire aesthetic is great, I think the thwomps that they put here as the obstacles felt a little out of place to me. They just kind of look like they were copy and pasted there, and there's nothing that makes it seem like they fit with the environment. It doesn't take away from the alright track, albeit the open track design, but the best part about the whole track is undoubtedly the idea of implementing all the different versions of the track from Tour and combining them into one track. Once you complete one lap, pink arrows will then point you in the direction you need to go, allowing for all the rest of the track to be seen and change it up. And with a fun concept like that, it'll be interesting to see if Nintendo tries this again with new tracks for Mario Kart 9.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
So far, I've been saying that these maps here have been alright and decent at best, but here's where I start getting into the maps that I legitimately thought were great. And it starts with Choco Mountain. Probably the map that I'm most impressed with as an updated version of it from Tour, where I think the art style fits really well here, where it's not as noticeable a difference compared to some of the other tracks. The small obstacles here are great too, and unlike Tokyo Haze, the obstacles feel like they are a part of the map rather than out of nowhere. So as a remake of an N64 track, it does really well. It's not too complicated, and it has the right amount of simplicity. Though I have never played Mario Kart 64, so I cannot compare this version to the original track. But at the very least, I think it's a very fun track here that I will be playing over and over again, just for how fun and simple it is. It doesn't do too much difficult, but it at least provides a simple amount of challenge for you.
You just got coconut mold.
Mario Kart Wii was my first Mario Kart game, so many of those tracks hold a special place in my heart, and Coconut Mall is one of those tracks. Being a fan favorite and personal favorite, it was great to see this one being one of the tracks included in the DLC, basically being an almost perfect port of the map from Wii, but spruced up a little bit. With it being a little more colorful, the track itself has multiple ways of traversal going up, down, through the stores, or otherwise, it takes full advantage of the mall setting. It does a great job with it. Unfortunately, there's only one downside to it in my opinion, and that being the last stretch of the game, where originally there were cars that moved back and forth in front of boost pads. Here, they're just shy guys in stagnant cars that do nothing but act as an inconvenience to you. In the original, the boost pads acted as a gamble for the player, either using the pads and passing other players with the possibility of getting screwed over by those Mii drivers, or just go around them with no risk or reward. It made a regular straight feel daring and acted as a final challenge before finishing, but here, it's just a regular straight with nothing. Luckily, that's only a minor aspect to the overall great track design that I'm happy to have again. But at the very end, I kinda wish they didn't change something like that, especially when it helped make the track more difficult overall since there aren't really any obstacles, except for those stagnant shy guys. But again, I'm happy to have Coconut Mall back.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
Yeah, this one might be an odd choice for my number 2 here, but Paris Promenade is a surprisingly great map. Yeah, I actually really like this one. This was the first map I played for the new DLC, and it was a map from Tour, which had me worried at first since I wasn't sure how those were going to translate as regular Mario Kart tracks, but it turned out they were pretty good honestly. The fact that this and other Tour tracks introduced the idea of tracks having different paths for each lap, allowing players to see the whole track, was really fun and interesting. And although it doesn't change for the second lap here, it does change for the third lap, forcing players to go backwards and then go through the whole thing again, which was really neat and a little more fun, especially when you run into oncoming traffic if you're far enough ahead.
It is evolving just backwards.
The two different paths to take in front of the Eiffel Tower, the setting, the music, the whole track is just lovely. I honestly can't think of any major complaints about it. It's just a solid track. One that I don't love to the point of playing it over and over again and not getting sick, but one that's definitely on the higher end of horses in general for Mario Kart 8. But overall, I think the setting here makes it really fun, and it's just a really pretty map. Alright, is anyone surprised that this one is number 1? Ninja Hideaway is one of my new favorite tracks in the whole game. Not just the ones they added with the DLC right here, I'm talking about all of Mario Kart 8. Although being originally from Tour, I was surprised with how impressive this track was overall, with the different paths to take, the interactivity of it, or the music. Oh my god, the music goes way harder than it has any right to. The colors here were really well used as well, looking very vibrant and pretty. I mean, even compared to the other DLC tracks, it's very distinct, but the very best part of it is, of course, the track design, where it immediately splits off into two different parts, and then they come together with the glider section, and then they can split off again. It's absolutely amazing. And I love the Shy Guys hopping in and out of the smoke, the awesome little shortcut, the cherry blossoms. It's all so good! This is one of those maps I have literally zero issues with. And honestly, it's the best of all the maps in the DLC batch, and it stands out with some of the other great Mario Kart tracks. And there you have it. That's my ranking for all the tracks in the first wave of DLC. I'm going to be ranking all the other ones to come out in months, so that'll be a little fun video series to look out for when this goes along. I was slightly overall disappointed when looking at the whole thing, especially with none of the tracks having anti-gravity, but the highs of the DLC were pretty high, and it gets me excited enough for the tracks that are coming up. Data miners have also suggested a lot of good ones are soon to come, and ones I am massively excited for personally. I do hope that all the ones that haven't been confirmed yet will be good ones at least, because right here we did have a lot of maps that weren't inherently bad, but just very basic and simple, not much to them. So hopefully when going along we'll get a couple more difficult tracks going forward. I mean, come on, there are plenty more to list off. But that's for another time. Until then, I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching.